Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Hold the Ball HTB. Look, I'm doing another live. I thought I may as well. Discussing all things rugby league, but a lot of news, should I say, has sort of happened in the last couple of hours. So we'll get to that. But in saying that, I'll let my co-host introduce himself. So let's do it.
Hey guys, I'm DummyHalfPodcast. Happy to be here, and thanks for letting me come on again. Appreciate it.
No worries. It is also that's right. It's your second time here, so appreciate that you can be here. So just quickly, guys, before we get into the NRL stuff and give our opinions and all that stuff, I just want to quickly go through it. So today, the CRL, that's the California Rugby League, as well as the NRL, that's the North American Rugby League. Both those league competitions in America had their comps. So the Razorbacks beat the San Francisco Savage 38 points to 34 to win the California Rugby League World Championship. So they are now the World Championships, the World Champions, sorry. And the NRL, they had Team Newland versus Team Boroughs, and Team Boroughs won that game there. I have actually had the privilege to interview Nick Newland as well, who gave me that privilege to do so. So, congrats to Team Borough there. But again, guys, you can always catch them online via Facebook and their YouTube page as well, NRL via Facebook and California Rugby League via their YouTube. But again, in saying that, that's sort of out of the way. A lot has happened, as I've said, and obviously a very juicy sort of a finals matchup. But in saying that, before we get there, we're going to talk about the first game, right? Manly and the Rabbitohs game, Rabbitohs-Manly. A game that I think, in my opinion anyway, probably a lot of people may have been tipping Manly to win. I wouldn't have blamed you. But for some reason, they just didn't show up. And Rabbitohs won that game 36 points to 16. But give me your opinion on that game.
Oh, look, I think it was a little bit surprising that the Rabbitohs managed to pull through. Obviously not for the Bunnies fans, it wasn't. But I think they've been pretty undervalued all year. Considering that they were in third place, I don't think a lot of people were really talking about their chances. But I think they've really matured this year as far as their defensive capability. I mean, obviously at the start of the year, mid-year, they're a bit like, your Manly and that sort of thing, and the Titans as well, where they could score a lot of points, but they couldn't really back it up in defense. But they matured a lot, and I think they showed that. As for Manly, it was a little bit unfortunate with obviously that early Moses Sully obstruction, which in my opinion shouldn't have been a penalty, as obviously Tom Trbojevic went through a different hole. But look, that's just a completely different discussion. But yeah, I think Manly had opportunities that unfortunately they couldn't capitalize on, and the Rabbitohs did well.
Yeah, no, that's nicely summed. Look, my sort of point of view. So on my video, I did tip the Rabbitohs to win. I just had this feeling that in terms of maturity, I just thought that Rabbitohs just would have I don't know. I just thought they would have just showed up to the game. I do believe they definitely took some of Storm's blueprint though of nullifying Tom Trbojevic, which is what they did. Obviously, he did get some clean breaks here and there, but he wasn't as effective. And one thing though, just collectively as a team, I just don't think they got things firing. What were your sort of thoughts on DCE and Kieran Foran, or more particularly DCE, since he was leading the charge? What were your thoughts on him on that game?
Look, I think Cherry Evans was a bit of a scapegoat early in the season with Manly's disappointing start. And I think that having Tom Trbojevic sort of take the reins a little bit as well in attack sort of helped him maybe just sort of lay back a bit, control the side, maybe leave some of that attacking flair and that sort of thing for Tom to undertake. But like, I think he was a little bit disappointing, to be honest, man. I mean, he's on probably about 1.2 million a year, and I just think that wasn't good enough. Unfortunately, he just needed to step up, and he couldn't. Same as Kieran Foran. I mean, yeah, they just it was a big game they needed to stand up in, and I think South stood up tenfold.
Yeah, no, I agree. DCE for me personally, yeah, look, obviously, as you said, during the start of the season, there was a lot of blame going his way. And obviously things happened after they beat the Warriors. Obviously, we're charitable, as people sort of say. And then they sort of gained some traction, and then from there, they had that little run. But in saying that, though, yeah, I've always found that whenever, for some reason, Tom Trbojevic gets sort of stopped, they for some reason don't work anymore. And I don't know why. Like, I don't get it. Sort of escapes me as to why Manly play so poorly whenever Tom Trbojevic is not on. But another player I thought, now we'll go by teams. Obviously, we'll talk about Manly first and Rabbitohs after. But I thought another player for me that just didn't stand up was Morgan Harper. I mean, a lot of people like him, and he's had some really good plays, but I've noticed, especially in the finals run against the Storm, and especially against the Rabbitohs, he gets shut down quick, and his confidence just absolutely drains, man, like goes nowhere, drop balls, missed tackles. Yeah, his confidence was absolutely shot that game. What were your thoughts on Morgan Harper?
Yeah, look, I think Des Hasler's sort of found a bit of a gem in Morgan Harper because he obviously was at the Bulldogs, couldn't get a start there. Came over to Manly, and he's actually a fullback originally, but Desi put him in the centres, and I think he's done a fine job this year. I mean, he can definitely run a nice line, and he's pretty strong defensively. But like you said, when they played the Storm, I mean, Justin Olam had his number all night. Morgan Harper just had butter all over his fingers, and I think he was a real letdown that first game. And then obviously against the Rabbitohs, he did stand up that second week. Sorry, it escapes me who they played. Roosters. He had a good game against the Roosters. But yeah, like you said, just last night disappointing. I think defensively he was still pretty okay. He did miss a tackle on Damien Cook, who then went on to set up a try for Cody Walker. That was disappointing. Yep. But look, I think, unfortunately for Manly, I think they let the wrong centre go in Moses Suli. I mean, yeah, he had a few poor defensive decisions last night, but towards the end of the game, you just saw that attacking prowess. And I think with a little bit of coaching, he's still only 22. I think with a little bit of coaching, he could have turned into the sort of strike back that Manly can use. And unfortunately for Morgan Harper, he just didn't stand up last night.
No, look, nice sort of what do you call it? Nice submission there of Moses Suli. I thought he was, excuse me, one of the better performed players, I reckon. Sure, some defensive lapses. I don't think it was as much, but in saying that, he was breaking the line at will at times, pushing, bending the line as well. And in terms of him versus Harper in that position, I thought he was the better player. Another player as well that I suppose we can talk about sort of is Tom Trbojevic. So what were your sort of thoughts on his performance against the Rabbitohs, who I thought were just, it looked as if they were like too much for him. What were your thoughts there? Unfortunately.
Well, look, yeah, for sure. I do think that Daly Cherry-Evans and Kieran Foran, they rely a lot on Tom Trbojevic, just like the team does. Obviously, he's the sort of glue that holds them together in attack especially. But I think that with all the media talk and I think it was Ryan Girdler coming out and saying they're just flat track bullies. They haven't beaten anyone above them all year. I think that it's sort of got in their head that maybe they rely on Tom Trbojevic too much. And then also in that Storm game, you saw Daly Cherry-Evans trying to cut out Tom Trbojevic and giving it to Morgan Harper early. And I think that using Tom Trbojevic as a decoy in those situations, it just doesn't work. He's got so much, attacking prowess, and he does command a lot, but he can back it up. And I think that last night when you saw just his raw speed to burn Campbell Graham on the outside to set up that try for Ruben Garrick. Yes, it was disallowed, but you saw that if you just give Tom Trbojevic the ball in open space, he'll make something happen. And I think that Daly Cherry-Evans was trying to do too much last night. Yeah,
no, I agree. Again, my thoughts on Tommy Turbo. Basically, I thought that he would have been one of the ones to sort of deliver, to stand up. And didn't, unfortunately. And yeah, that's right. You summed it up nicely. But it sort of makes me think, though, is this like a long-term issue we're going to be looking at for Manly? Whenever Tom Trbojevic gets cut down, is there like sort of like a 80% chance that they sort of lose? I'm not sure, but Storm and Rabbitohs had the recipe to beat Manly and with ease as well. So worrying signs heading into next year, I'm pretty sure if you're one of the teams heading into next year, you're copying down exactly that. That's how you stop Tom Jaworowicz. You basically starve him. You sort of, in my opinion anyway, aim hard for the halves because, yeah, like you said, the halves rely on him. So if you hit the halves, it's basically game over there. But in saying that, that sort of transitions me to the Rabbitohs now. And obviously, we can look at the opposite fullback, who I thought was standout, quite good then. That was Blake Taft. And again, he has taken over Latrell Mitchell. And obviously all that hype and media sort of thing regarding him and that position. But yet I think he has made it his own. What are your thoughts and what were your thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, you said that he made it his own, and I completely agree. I mean, he's obviously only played, 5 games, 6 games, and I think he's the youngest youngest fullback to feature in a finals game since 1956 or something like that. Do your own research on that. But yeah, he's definitely really inexperienced, but he has a lot of class about him. Obviously, with players around him, like your Cody Walker, your Adam Reynolds, he doesn't have to overplay his hand, and I think that's the key. I think that Latrell Mitchell is he's a superstar, and you can't replace Latrell Mitchell, so you shouldn't try and replicate what Latrell does. You need to just do your job for the team, and it worked. Last night you saw just with quick hands, just clean ball. You saw that Jackson Paulo went over twice, I think, and he did the right thing not to overplay his hand, and I think that next year he'll be a big part of the team.
No, that's right. You brought up Latrell Mitchell. My sort of thoughts, so if I was compare these two, obviously Latrell Mitchell's that X factor. He's that superstar, right? He's the one who puts the bums on the seats, right? But in saying that, like with Blake Taft, I just feel like he's the more mature player. Am I wrong there? What are your thoughts there? I just feel like he's the more level-headed sort of, I don't know. It could be quite a controversial take, but I feel like it's how do I say this? I feel like as a Rabbitohs fan, if I was one, I'd feel safe. I feel a bit more safe with Blake Taft. I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, look, I think you're not wrong there at all. I think that Latrell Mitchell, while he is a bit of a hothead in certain aspects, he's a bit dangerous. He plays the game on a razor's edge, but I think that's what makes him such a great player. I think that aggression, that ill discipline at times, but a bit of grubbiness, that's what people love to watch. And he's not just one of those players that talks a lot of smack and can't back it up, Will Chambers, but he definitely can walk the walk. And look, if people hate him, I don't think he really cares that much. I think that he shows week in, week out what he's about. And but you said level-headedness. I think you're right. I think that Blake Taft, he's just a kid. He sounds like a humble kid when he's in interviews and stuff like that. And I think that's what the Rabbitohs needed during the final series. They just needed a calm presence back there, like Dylan Edwards with Penrith. I think that, especially Cody Walker. Cody Walker is definitely a victim of, his aggression, and I think that it gets the better of him a lot. But I think that with Blake Taft there, not agitating things, just doing his job and not talking smack, I think that it definitely helped with that calming presence.
No, well said, and yeah, like I said, I just feel like Blake Taft to me anyway just seems very level-headed, very cool-headed. Will he be the X factor? Unsure, unknown. But in terms of his maturity, I think he's got it there already. And for such a young player, that's a huge compliment for him and his progression. Well done for making the grand final too as well, Blake Taft. Now, we move on to some other players in the Rabbitohs. So what? Give me your thoughts on the halves in particular, the half, Cody Walker, that Reynolds sort of combo. And what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, look, I think they complement each other perfectly. I think that Cody Walker, he's that X factor. He's, the backyard footy player that the commentators love to talk about. But I think that Adam Reynolds is so underrated in the aspect of just giving Walker time and space to do his thing well. I think that both players stood up last night, and I can't believe that the Rabbitohs are letting Adam Reynolds go. But look, I think that it's a bit of a perfect narrative in a sense that, it's Benji Marshall's most likely his last game. 16 years in between grand finals, Adam Reynolds' last game, Dane Gagai's last game, Wayne Bennett's last game coaching the Rabbitohs. I mean, choose your storyline. But I think that
Yeah.
the halves really stood up last night, and I think that they definitely deserve to be where they're at.
No, I agree. And one sort of funny thing. Oh, actually, just quickly before I go there, just going back to Blake Taft. Now heading into next year, obviously the Charles back, right? He's not going to be fullback. Where do you sort of see Blake Taft fitting into next season? 14, or do you reckon they'll trial him out at halfback?
Well, long term, the Rabbitohs obviously have a backup plan, right? I mean, they wouldn't let Adam Reynolds go if they didn't have someone to fall back on, or a youngster they're planning on bringing through. But I think that it's hard because I've heard talk that Latrell Mitchell will go to 5'8", and then Adam Reynolds will go to not Adam Reynolds, Cody Walker go to halfback, which I think is a bit ludicrous.
Yeah.
And there's also obviously pending Anthony Milford's charges. He could be playing halfback. I mean, there's a million different combinations there, but I think that Latrell's your fullback. He's shown how devastating he is at that fullback position, and I think that Cody Walker needs to be a 5'8". So either Lachlan Ilias, he looked really promising in his first game against the Dragons, or Blake Taft at halfback. But either way, I think that Blake Taft will be in the side somewhere.
Yep. No, well said. Another sort of player I want to bring to the attention is not player. How about we talk about Wayne Bennett, the man, the myth, the legend. He just somehow just gets it done. The media love him. He's so good at trolling everyone, just the way he is. He just has an aura about him that I enjoy watching. I enjoy his press conferences as well. Always something different there. What are your thoughts on him as a coach? And I guess with the Rabbitohs, I sort of thought myself that they were going to get out in straight sets, and here they are in the grand final. Absolutely amazing stuff by the coach himself. So what are your thoughts on the coach? And I guess just the Rabbitohs to sort of just be, in my opinion anyway, the surprise packet heading into the grand final.
Yeah, I think that, Wayne Bennett is probably, if not the greatest coach of all time, I probably have Craig Bellamy just above him. But I think that Wayne Bennett, he's unreal as a coach, as a mentor to these young players at the Rabbitohs. And I think the playing group really respects him. I mean, you see in the post-match sort of locker room sort of footage that, he's dancing with the players. He's laughing with the players. He's one of the boys, even though he's got about 30 years on any of the players, probably 40, but, he's just a really genuinely, sort of, what's the word? Just, for lack of a better word, just a good bloke. The boys love him at the Rabbitohs, and I think that he's so intelligent in the aspect of manipulating the media, and he sort of manages to take the spotlight off of him and the team when all the spotlight's there, and it's an amazing sort of attribute to have, especially as a coach. And as for, the surprise appearance of the Rabbitohs in the grand final, I was really rooting for Manly in that game. I just like the Rabbitohs with a passion, but you can't fault their talent. You can't fault their talent, man. They deserve to be where they are, and I think that this is probably the best situation they've been in since their 2014 grand final win.
Yeah, I agree. Well said. So, yeah, that was a game in a nutshell, basically. Manly, unfortunately, just couldn't do it. Hats off to them anyway. I think they did a lot better than what was expected, especially in the start of the season. So you can't really, you can't really hang your head down that low. There's a lot to look forward to heading into next season as well. So we'll just see what happens there. But again, kudos to the Rabbitohs who made it through. Now, game 2, and oh boy, was the game. And again, guys, feel free to ask any questions and stuff like that. We'll head into that, and we'll also talk about the Reece Walsh news as well. We'll get into that, and then we'll give our opinions and so on and so forth as well. But yes, the Storm lose to the mighty, strong, dangerous, magnificent, awesome Penrith Panthers in a very grueling game. Craig Bellamy sort of summed it up, saying that they deserve where they're at, we deserve where we are, saying that it was probably one of their most poorest performances. Now, in that situation, is it, before we sort of talk about the game, is it poor performance, or is it just Penrith being a very good sort of defensive team? What are your thoughts there on the comments and sort of that? scenario?
Oh, look, I think it's a combination of both for sure. I think that the 15 handling errors that Melbourne Storm had were just the result from Panthers' aggressive defense, and I think no one can fault the Panthers their drive, their determination, their grit to win that game, and coming a long way around, having to play that game last week, obviously against the Eels, everyone wrote them off straight away. I mean, Storm with 2 weeks to prepare. It's an impossible win, but I actually really enjoyed this game, and I really enjoyed the Panthers watching them after. They're all just humble guys. Seeing, all the Ivan Cleary sort of backlash and everything and I was just, it's so good for Ivan to just silence the critics. Obviously he brought your beloved Warriors to that 2011 grand final. Sorry, yep, and no one was questioning him then, but. After the whole Tigers debacle and everything, I think he's proven that he is a really great coach. And, they definitely deserve the win.
Yep. And just quickly sort of talking about that 2011 Warriors sort of thing, I personally don't know, like some people like to look back in time and celebrate that progress we made. I think it's all good and well, but it just ends up in pain anyway, so I don't even bother. I actually don't even bother. I don't bother celebrating the wins we had because, I was an absolute mess when we lost the grand final. Anyway. So, look, the game, like the way I sort of, quickly sum it up before we get to your opinion, it was grueling, it was tough. I thought the Penrith Panthers were done by after their game against the Eels. I thought they had nothing to give. And yet, when push came to shove, they were just right there in the trenches as well. And I thought, goodness me, like, we talk about how good they are defensively, but they took it up an extra level in this game. Like, this is elite sort of status here. To only hold the Storm, to basically one try, one converted try, I think is a huge compliment to them. Now, quickly, what were your thoughts in the game? Like, what were your thoughts overall, or your summation of it? What did you sort of think?
Yeah, just quickly, you said that one try, and even that one try was a bit flukish. I mean, Viliami Kikau and Tavita Pangai Jr. were right there. They just unfortunately couldn't get the ball, and Pappenhausen managed to dive on it. So I don't even think that wasn't one of Penrith's errors. It was just a bit lucky in that sense. But I think overall, definitely a disappointing end to the season after breaking all kinds of point scoring records and that sort of thing. But I think Penrith's defense, obviously it's been the best in the competition for the past 2 years, but their scramble, they were probably like 3 or 4, 5 even try savers, Matt Burton, Scott Sorensen, a middle forward chasing down Jerome Hughes. That just shows what the Penrith Panthers are all about.
Yes.
They're hungry for success, and after last year's grand final, I think they're going to be pretty hard to stop next week.
I agree. I'll just read this comment just quickly. And Sam Riddle, hey man, how you going? First and foremost. Storm have shown all year that they can put in the odd error Riddle performance. Nearly got Penrith, but the better team definitely won. Yeah, look, I agree there. And again, welcome. And again, guys, if you want to ask any questions, please feel free to do so. This is just a casual sort of a chat. It's casual as we'll see what happens. But yeah, look, what you said there was nicely stated. I'm almost inclined though to think that I don't think the Penrith Panthers attack has been that great. To be fair, in the last couple of games, it hasn't been great. But I'm almost inclined to believe that after that Rabbitohs lost, they literally don't even care about attack anymore. It's just defense. Like, I swear that's all they do now. Just defensive drills, pray and hope that something happens offensively. But the way they're defending, though, I don't know. Like, I haven't seen this type of intensity before. And as you mentioned, they're heading against the Rabbitohs. And, hey, the Rabbitohs have some storylines, and so do the Penrith Panthers as well, I think, anyway. But what we'll do, though, is we'll talk about like Storm players now. We'll talk about some of them. So what were your thoughts on Munster, Cameron Munster in that game?
Yeah, look, I think that I love Munster personally. I think he's a great personality, and he's such a good player. And he's been labelled a big game player for a while, and unfortunately just didn't pull through. But that's not any sort of that's not a knock on Munster at all. I mean, Penrith's defense, every time Munster got the ball, he looked to fire it out to one of his outside backs, or like Justin Olam or Josh Adokar in space. But Penrith's defense was just sliding. They got right up in their faces, and it was just an unreal defensive effort. And I think that Munster gave it his all. He definitely tried his best, and that's all you can ever ask. But I think Penrith's defence were just too good, and I think that none of that blame can be put on Munster.
Yeah, no. Well, I suppose it's just a collective thing. It's just Panthers versus Storm, and Panthers just collectively, My sort of thoughts on Munster. Look, I'm happy. That's what I'm gonna say. Obviously, he's a good footy player, but yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. It's good. What were your thoughts on Nelson Asofa Solomona, who I thought made such an impact coming off the bench? Absolute unit, just a tree trunk of a human being. Like, stuff freaking trying to tackle that dude. What are your thoughts on him?
I've never seen one player run so hard for so long in that game. I mean, he was like a man possessed. I mean, like, just every run straight up the guts, bending the line. He bowled over Nathan Cleary at one point, and I think that coming off the bench, he's been injured for a lot of the season. I think he's only played probably 7 or 8 games this year for the Storm, but he just showed how valuable he is to that side. And I think that Tui Kamikamica as well off the bench, he was unreal. And I think that Storm kind of put any sort of they silenced the critics in the sense of a lot of people were questioning the bench of Craig Bellamy's side. Obviously, he had 2 smaller men in Nico Hines and Harry Grant, and then just the 2 middle forwards. But you don't question the master, and unfortunately for that game, it didn't quite work out. But I mean, they were down to 15 men for 70 minutes. I don't think anyone could have asked any more of their bench impact, especially. And just going back to Nelson, I don't think they can let him go long term. I think he's definitely that he's got to stay there, and I think that just a man mountain. I wouldn't want to be standing in front of him.
Man Mountain as well can actually dump high and slam the ball on the ground.
Oh yeah.
He that disallowed try. Oh, sorry guys, I think he's just been cut off. Don't worry, he'll get on. Just quickly, guys, I just think I'll let you guys know. So what we're doing quickly is just talking about the NRL game between the the Storm and the Penrith Panthers, and then we're gonna sort of go into the the Reece Walsh stuff, the Warriors news, and get into it as well. So that's what we'll be doing. Hang on, I'll just bring him back on.
Sorry about that. My
okay.
app crashed, but yeah, just back to Nelson. Seeing him fly high like that was unreal. I loved it.
That was amazing. It's a pity that wasn't a try, but it was just a great sort of performance there. And I just quickly told the people as well. Again, feel free to ask questions, but just letting you guys know that we're going to be doing this. We're going to be talking about the Penrith Panthers Storm game, and then heading into the aftermath as well, and then we'll just go from there. But look, what were your thoughts on Jerome Hughes?
I thought he was unreal, especially his running game last night, and I think he ran for like 200 meters or something ridiculous. I mean, he's such a good player, and just to see where he's come from, I mean, up in the Titans system, and then the Cowboys, I'm pretty sure, he's come such a long way, and he was a fullback, and then Craig Bellamy converted him into a halfback, and he's an interesting sort of halfback in that sense that he'll probably run a lot more than he'll pass, but it just works. And just such an underrated. I don't know if he's underrated anymore. A lot of people have big raps on him now, which is good. He deserves them. But I think he's definitely one of the premier halfbacks in the comp now. And, yesterday afternoon, he was a force to be reckoned with, especially in attack. He turned Viliama Kikau inside out once or twice, and it just shows his class.
Yeah, no, I agree. If half the team play like Jerome Hughes, I think Storm win. That's just my honest opinion. He had such a game and a heavy influence, and despite that loss, the fact that you're still talking about him in high regard, says a lot about the game that he possesses. So that's awesome there. Last player from the Storm before we head into the Penrith camp. What were your thoughts on Justin Olam in that game?
Yeah, look, I think that unfortunately for Justin, he's got a lot of errors in his game that probably need to be ironed out, mostly just ball handling errors, but just his carries and his defense. I mean, like, he's definitely evolved a lot as a player. Definitely completely and utterly robbed of center of the year, considering he wasn't even invited to the ceremony. That's just ridiculous to me. But I think last night I think it was a bit of a mixed bag for Justin Olam. He had some great carries and some great moments in the game, but unfortunately, especially that error coming out of his own half, I think that was really detrimental to the Storm's premiership hopes.
Yeah. Look, I agree. I was going to probably send another player, but that's right. We'll leave it there. But all right. So with the Penrith camp, what were your thoughts on their playmaker, their star dude, Nathan Cleary?
Yeah, look, I think Nathan just proved why he's probably, easily the best halfback in the competition, if not probably first or second best player, arguably. That heads up play, that early kick on to Stephen Crichton early in the game, I think that it sort of just set the tone. I think they proved that we're here for business, and we don't care about feelings. And that first try, it just sort of set the tone for the rest of the match. And I think that his defense, especially, he's really stood up, and especially with that shoulder. I mean, it's just an unreal effort. And if they win the competition, or even if they don't, I think that a lot of raps need to be put on Nathan Cleary playing through that injury. I mean, he could have easily said, I'm going to pack it up. I'm going to get my shoulder right, and we're going to attack it next year. But he said, no, I want to win the competition this year. And he's been unreal. And last night, even, I think he was really good, and he sort of just composed the boys a little bit. A lot of young fellas there that
Yes,
were probably a bit antsy, and even he's just a young fella himself. He's only 23, but he has a lot of maturity about him and a lot of class, and I think that's what sort of pulled them through last night.
I think some of the things that we sort of forget regarding Nathan Cleary, like for me, I always look at players from a psychological standpoint, especially their losses. So, obviously, last year, Cleary experienced, the Origin loss, that grand final loss. I just think psychologically, there's a lot of things that happen to a player, and sometimes they can either, make him go backwards, or in Nathan Cleary's case, it can project them. And I think that's what it's done. I think the hurts of last year have really just, for him has made him want to try and excel in his game. And I think personally, that's my sort of takeaway from Nathan Cleary this year, is that he's used some of the pain from last year to just absolutely, propel himself forward. And I thought he was definitely one of the standout players. He doesn't play, they lose. That's as simple as that. That's just it. What were your thoughts on give me your thoughts on Viliame Kikau?
I think that, he played a really good game last night, and I think he only had one or two errors, which, errors happen, but he definitely stood up in the sense that, he hasn't, kicked up a stink about, coming off the interchange for the last couple of weeks. It's definitely worked. It's worked wonders. And, even that, Jerome Hughes made a break against him, on his inside shoulder, but, he came back and, obviously the boys were there to cover the tackle. And I think that, obviously Viliame Kikau, a lot like Justin Olam, has an error or two in his game, but just the sheer ability that can, he's obviously raw. And if you think about, NFL and NBA scouting sort of reports, it's a lot. They talk about raw prospects a lot. And I think that Kikau and Justin Olam are definitely raw in that sense. But if you get them in the right system and mold them, then they could be some of the greatest players we've ever seen. So I think that last night he stood up, definitely had a lot to say in attack, but his defense unfortunately could use some work.
Yeah, look, for me personally, I thought he was actually one of their let's just, again, lack of a better word, probably one of their not so great players, especially defensively. And obviously a lot of the time he was actually out in those haunches, sort of just hurt and sort of like that. But just quickly, man, I have a comment here for you. Hey, Dummy, good to see you back with HTB.
Thanks, man. Nice to hear from you. Hopefully you're enjoying the show.
All right, and Sam Revel asks, all right, this good question for you to answer, bro. Will Penrith miss Kurt Capewell?
I think they will, personally. I think he's a really professional sort of, just a professional sort of influence on that team. Obviously coming over from Cronulla, he wasn't too highly touted, but he's turned himself into an Origin back rower at the Panthers.
That's right.
And he's been really influential over that side. And I think that, while he might not have, the most impressive highlight reel, I just think his work week in, week out, He's constantly making over 100 meters. He rarely misses a tackle, and I just think that's exactly what the Panthers need going into the grand final. So I think they will miss him next year, yeah, for sure.
Exactly, and that's another thing that people don't realize with the Penrith Panthers. They've been to a grand final, they've lost it quite, and I don't think the team has changed much. Probably one or two or three people who have left. This team is still intact. The core team is still intact. They're still feeling that pain. Like, I just think that the Penrith Panthers definitely hold a bit of hurt there. So, that's why I'm sort of tipping my hat towards them. That emotional feeling, I think, in a sporting context can be very strong. And I think that's sort of like the outlook there. What were your thoughts on Jerome Luai heading into that game? Sorry, guys, and I'll answer these other questions soon. What were your thoughts on Luai? Because basically my thoughts personally was sort of he dropped form. That's I think, particularly, before the finals, I thought he dropped form. I thought he was trying too hard, and even that run against the Rabbitohs, I thought he went missing. Even against the Eels, I thought he really wasn't there. But in this game here, against the Storm, arguably the best team in the comp, he actually sort of was present and he did some things. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think that for Luai, I mean, he even said himself that during the period where the Panthers were without Nathan Cleary for those few weeks, I think he himself even said in an interview that he was trying to replicate Nathan Cleary's game. He was trying to, be that calming presence, that pinpoint kicking game, and that Nathan Cleary provides the team. But that's not Jerome Luai. That's not what he provides. And like you said he was trying too hard, and I definitely think you're right. I think that when he plays his game, flashy, fast, elusive, sort of short side raid, sort of that sort of game, and that grubbiness even a little bit, getting into players' faces. That's Jerome Luai. That's the player we love to watch, and I think that definitely, like you said, yes, he did have a drop in form, but I think that he's chosen the perfect moment to try and play himself back into it, and I think last night he was definitely one of their best.
Yep. No. Well said there. Well said. So, Te Waiwai asks, a bigger question is, can Penrith stop the Bunnies forwards? What are your thoughts on that before we wrap up this game?
I think they definitely can. I was just thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, if you look at probably the physical differences between South Sydney and Penrith's forward pack, I mean, Penrith have a relatively lightweight pack in that sense. I think Moses Leota is about 105 kilos. James Fisher-Harris is about 105. And then you look across the pitch at the Rabbitohs forwards, Tavita Totola is about 115. Tom Burgess is 120. Mark Nichols is probably about 110. So I just think that physical presence in the middle there will probably be a big, driving factor for Rabbitohs. And if Penrith can put a stop to that forward pack, I think that, Tavita Pangai Jr. and Viliami Kikau and I hope to God that they bring on Spencer Leniu for next week's match because he was unreal. And I think that it's very two contrasting forward packs in the sense that, the Rabbitohs play, that physical strength game, whereas the Panthers, they have more mobile sort of forwards. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. But I think that led by Fisher-Harris, they can definitely stop them if they're in the right sort of, frame of play.
Yep. And just quickly as well, just sum it up just quickly. Actually, wait, I'll quickly get there. But with the Penrith Panthers, I sort of touched on it before. So they've been in the wars, right? Even that loss against Rabbitohs was still a very grueling game. Then they meet the Eels, then they meet the Storm, both really grueling games. My sort of thought, though, is, and again, just trying to be impartial here, though, I just feel like they have, because of the wars they've been through, I just feel like they'll be able to handle whatever Rabbitohs throw at them because they'll be able to meet the grind because that's where they're comfortable at. And if the game's wide open, I almost think it'll probably work on their favour. I'm not too sure how the Rabbitohs respond to a grinding whole of a game, if Penrith can somehow force them to play it because Penrith forced, Penrith and the Storm did it, Eels and Penrith have come away with 2 wins in a row just playing grueling defensive footy. So my sort of thought, though, is that if they do meet that big sort of, Rabbitohs pack, I almost feel like, for me personally, if I was a Penrith fan, I've already gotten over the serious task, which was the Melbourne Storm. that's just my opinion. What do you think about?
Well, you speak of the comment said bigger forward packs, and I just think of Parramatta has a massive forward pack. The Storm have a massive forward pack, and who's come out on top every time? It's the Penrith Panthers. So they did lose week 1 to the Rabbitohs, but I think, like you said, coming off those grueling wins, Ivan Cleary quoted calling them battle hardened, and I think that's a real thing. I think that they've had some gritty type wins, but sometimes you just need a win like that. That's just the way it is, and obviously, they've been the team, the flashy team that's been putting on 30, 40, 50 points on teams, and they even did it to the Rabbitohs early in the year. But I think that they've definitely matured in the sense of they can win these gruely sort of low point scoring sort of affairs. And I think that if you look at the bench especially, I think that Panthers definitely have a more impressive bench than the Rabbitohs. Obviously, Jai Arrow, Jacob Host are all good players, but if you're talking about, X Factor, and X Factor gets tossed around a lot, but the definition of X Factor would be Viliami Kikau and Tavita Pangai Jr. That's me personally.
No, look, well said. And just quickly on Tavita Pangai Jr., we're going to have to wait and see because he did sort of injure his leg, in trying to prevent Pappenhuisen from scoring that try. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Hopefully there's good news. And just quickly as well, again on that game, look, well done to the Penrith Panthers who stood up and beat the Storm in that game. I just think for myself though, that was probably the hardest sort of task. That's what I think anyway. I think that was their assignment. That was their homework. Low-key think that our Penrith Panthers put like 30 points on Rabbitohs, but we'll just leave that there.
I hope that they do. I'd just love to see the Panthers, come back from that grand final heartbreak from last year and just put the world on notice. And I hate the Rabbitohs with a passion.
No, look, no, that's fair enough. But quickly again, congrats to the Penrith Panthers who make it through. Obviously, we head into this grand final here. Again, both teams, good stories. Whoever wins, I think, is well deserved. Doesn't matter where you sort of lean. I think it's one of those things where we can all be thankful that our Storm haven't made it. Nah, kidding. We can all. No. We can all just we'll see what happens. It's a great story. Whoever, Benji Marshall, right? Wayne Bennett, Adam Reynolds. You've got then for the Penrith Panthers, you have Cleary. You got Nathan Cleary. You got Tevita Pangai Jr. as well. So like that story there, him transitioning from the Broncos. You know what I mean? As sort of like someone helping him, then he goes like so many stories, which is good to see. But again, kudos to the Penrith Panthers. Now, guys, we head into a story I didn't really want to go on. Like I personally, when I was sort of contacting Dummy Half Podcast, it was mainly just to focus on the matches here and then just some NRL news. But I didn't expect this sort of NRL news. I did not expect this. So this morning, long story short, Reece Walsh, Reece Walsh, in my opinion, the future of my hopes and dreams quite literally rest on this young man's shoulders. He was arrested over in Gold Coast, I believe. Yep. The footage sort of showed him or showed police with him. He complied, right? There was no fight back. They basically arrested him. They took him. And I thought that was it personally. I thought that was it. So I made something on Twitter saying, well, I don't think the media needs to beat it up. And then literally a few hours later, more news came. And I suppose I was a bit devastated there. But and I know there's some comments here, and I'll get to them just quickly. But what were your thoughts, man? What are your honest opinions on what's happened? And and I'll give you mine afterwards. What are your opinions on Reece Walsh and everything that happened and your thoughts? So, yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, I mean, he's a 19-year-old kid. I mean, if he wasn't as much of a superstar as he is, no one would even be talking about it. I mean, kids make mistakes. Yes, it was a bit silly, but he's a good kid. You know that, and he even fronted the media afterwards with the CEO. And look, I don't think you can't sort of criticize his character or anything. I think he just made a mistake. But I really disagree with Fox League's approach, especially uploading the footage of the arrest onto Instagram and sort of starting a bit of speculation. I don't agree with that. And even it's not like it's the first time they've done something like this. I mean, with the Corey Norman like sort of collage of hurtful things that the fans were saying, and then they put that on their Instagram, and it's just not a good look for the game. And I think that as much as Reece Walsh is probably in the wrong here, I think that the media definitely plays a part in it all.
Yeah, look, well said there. I guess my point of view, as a fan of my beloved Warriors, till the very day, I cannot be here anymore. I feel disappointed. So I feel disappointed in that sense that you're right, he's a kid, and I guess you can sort of like these probably different ways to look at it. You can look at it as that he's a kid, he makes mistakes, which I agree with, or you can look at it in the other sense, which is whether you like it or not, you're a professional, and these are the sort of like the things you just know. Like, I get it. I know he's a kid, and obviously, parts of the brain haven't formed yet. That's just the way it goes. I get it. But you're a professional. You've been around professionals. You've been in a professional environment. It's not like these things are sort of like tolerated at a club room level. Like, full stop. It's not. So, there's sort of like that sense of accountability that I think needs to be thrown and shown his way. So, obviously, he did that. You mentioned the press conference. It's just, I guess for me, just it's just heartbreaking just knowing that. And something else is what we read his story. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but a few months ago, he mentions a story and he talks about his mother, right, and her battles with drugs and how it was tough for him, and basically separated, like he doesn't really have much to do with his mum, so on and so forth. And then to see him go into that, for me personally, looking at it from that personal point, I absolutely feel heartbroken from, I feel from like that is pain right there. What are your sort of thoughts regarding that? Like, he has that story of his mother, and then he goes into it. He says it to himself, so there's no one else. There's footage as well that shows a bit of a party up. There was him and Toby Rudolph. They're trying to sing "Sweet Caroline" or something like that, right? And it looked very hectic there. And he says he's on his own. What are your thoughts on everything just sort of mentioned there?
I mean, I think that just hearing, like you said, just the sort of the impact of drugs and stuff on his family. I mean, it's just horrible. You hate to have to hear it, and I don't think that anyone can sort of offer any sort of input on that situation unless they've experienced it personally. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't sort of put in your 2 cents unless you've lived what he's lived. So in that sense, I do agree that it's heartbreaking stuff. But like you said, you mentioned the professionalism. I think you're right. I think that at the end of the day, whether you're 19 or whether you're 35, you're a professional athlete that's being looked up to by young kids all across Australia, New Zealand, the Pacific Islands. People look up to you, and you have to rein it in and accept that you have to grow up at some point.
Yeah, no, that's right. Well said. And you mentioned, sort of like the other. Yeah, that's right. These young kids coming up, right? Like, you've just got to sort of put yourself in that mind frame. Sorry, lost concentration there. You got to put yourself in that mindset that there are younger people, young kids looking up at you. When you see Reece Walsh, when you hear Reece Walsh, I'm sure every kid wants to be like him. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, especially in New Zealand, Reece Walsh is massive. People, it's a good name there. It's your Warriors fan, obviously. What my sort of point though on it is, that's right. You mentioned professionalism. It's just, I don't know. I guess for me, it's just, it's just. I know he's young, and I'm not here to beat the kid up. Not at all. Not at all. But it's just more so just, I don't know. I'm just sort of, the Warriors have got support. Obviously, they're supporting him. So he's going to go, through some drug and alcohol counseling. But it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's a very hard thing to sort of grasp. It's very unfortunate. That's all I know. My hope is that this doesn't become repetitive. I hope this is not the unfortunate foreshadowing of a player that sort of battles this discreetly without people knowing. Like, these many stories of that where players do things behind people's back regarding drugs, and it's just not a good outlook. So I'm really hoping that the Warriors can sort of help him. He needs all the support he can get. I definitely believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm just going to read some comments here just quickly. So Jack, in reality, Storm beat themselves with errors galore. Raiders can beat Panthers for sure if they keep errors to a minimum. Panthers have had 3 hard games. To win a fourth could be a bridge too far. What are your thoughts on that, just quickly?
Yes and no. I think that it's one thing to say that you can beat the Panthers. It's another thing to actually do it. And I think that after those tough games that they've had to experience over the course of the finals, I think Souths have had it probably pretty easily, relatively. I mean, they obviously played Penrith the first week, and they won pretty convincingly there, and then they had the week off, and then they played last week, and Manly didn't put up much of a fight. So, in terms of paths to the grand final, I think that Penrith definitely had to go the long way around, but I just think that if Penrith play to their ability, I don't think South can do much to stop it. That's just my opinion anyway.
No, good take. Good take. All right, TYY here says, Warriors need to dump him. Let him hit rock bottom now, otherwise he's not going to make the hard choice to go sober. All right, my quick opinion on that, no. There's a lot of reasons why I don't want us to sort of let go Walsh, and I'm happy we haven't. One, obviously, you mentioned it before, not that it's an excuse, but we'll keep going through that cliche. He's a young kid. Number 2, what he offers us, I don't think has been seen before in Warriors jersey, and I'm talking about from the beginning of the franchise. It's a hot take, but I honestly believe that. And number 3, well, I'm sure he'll learn from this. There's a thing called a second chance. Like for myself personally, just letting you guys know, I'm a teetotalist, so I don't even, I'm not into any of that stuff. I don't drink or smoke, nothing. Like I'm straight edge, man. I'm into that stuff. But for someone like him, and that's another reason why I sort of get worried when alcohol's involved with players, because I know we usually know it's always going to lead to silly things. Like, that's just it. But no, I think personally for myself, regarding Reece Walsh, I think this is his rock bottom. I think this is a place of absolute vulnerability, a place where he cannot run, a place where there's no more walls. That's it. He's now an exposed person. So in this moment here, I'm hoping that he can hopefully get the help there and go from there. But what are your sort of thoughts on it,
man? Yeah, it's a bit ruthless in that sense that but I do see where he's coming from for sure. In the sense that he does have to learn, and at some point he has to take responsibility. But I think doing that press conference, I think that was probably a massive sort of thing to do. I mean, it definitely wouldn't have been easy with all the media asking probing questions and that sort of thing. But it takes a real man to admit that he's done wrong, and I think that Reece has done that. So I think that he'll bounce back, and I think that the Warriors can't really afford to let him go because they don't really have a lot of that sort of strike power that he offers to the Warriors. And like you said that you haven't seen like such a player offer that sort of thing, and I tend to agree with you. I mean, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Sean Johnson, probably are up there with him, but this was his emergence. He never played first grade of the Broncos. He's debuted for the Warriors, and he's the obviously Sean Johnson did as well. But you look at Roger. I mean, he had a name for himself at the Roosters, and he came over here and just continued to do his thing. But Reece has sort of just ingrained himself into that Warriors DNA. That he's a part of this club, and I think if the Warriors keep him, he can definitely be one of the greatest players we've ever seen.
Yeah, look, I agree. I guess just one sort of flash memory, one sort of thought. Sorry, guys, and I'll get to your comments. One sort of thought, though, is, look, with this being said, I hope it's something that's done and it's killed straight away. I'm not a fan of the idea that, drugs were involved as well. It's just, we know what it does outside the sporting context in terms of reality, in terms of, literally people that, you may or may not know, like, it's not a great thing to be into, to get into. I don't think it's healthy. Again, that's just my personal opinion. So, again, the Warriors have done a great job securing him, making sure he's okay. But I just hope he learns from this. All right. So, Jacko here. Walsh is young, making a bad error, stupid mistake, which hopefully he will learn from. Others have made similar mistakes before. Proctor, Bromwich. Disappointing, yes. But let's not overdo the criticism. Yeah, look, that's a good point there. What are your thoughts on that one there, just quickly?
Yeah, I think he's right. I think a lot of players have been in similar situations. I mean, you look at Matt Lodge, that whole New York incident. And I think probably the biggest sort of comeback story we've experienced is Jack Whiten. I mean, Jack Whiten, was in trouble for, assault and, public indecency and all that sort of thing. But the way he's managed to come back and in 2 years go from that sort of rock bottom to winning the Dally M, I mean, it was just a sensational turnaround. Well done to Jack for turning his career around. But unfortunately, you have to look at guys, unfortunately, I'm not trying to single anyone out, but, your Curtis Scotts and that sort of thing, where these sorts of issues, with getting in trouble with, authority have become commonplace, and it's ruined a promising career and that sort of thing. So I just hope that doesn't happen for Reece. I hope he turns it around early, and I hope that it doesn't, get the best of him.
Well said there, man. Well said. So wow. There are many players into drugs. It's a matter of getting caught. I agree there. Unfortunately, oh man, this. Oh, I don't know. Should I ask this question? Yeah, well, yeah, stuff it. Does the NRL have a drug culture problem, or is there something in there? Is there sort of some culture problem there regarding drugs? What are your thoughts on it? It's a pretty tough question to ask, but I'm throwing the deep end, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, look, I think I'm pretty sure he's talking about, not your sort of anabolic steroids and that sort of thing. I think he's talking about just, your recreational sort of drugs. But it's a tough one because obviously a lot of players, well, not a lot of players, but, a select handful of players do get in trouble with drugs. And, it's unfortunately becoming more common. But I think that it's not as common as people think. I think that, unfortunately, it's just the way it is. I think, unfortunately, one bad apple ruins the whole tree, and I think that's just the way it is with the NRL as well. I think that certain players bring the game down, and I don't think the NRL as a whole has a drug issue surrounding it, and I just think that it's not just drugs. I think it's a lack of professionalism in terms of your alcohol abuse. Well, that obviously is a drug, but then you've also got assault sort of issues, domestic violence. Unfortunately, it's just, you hate to hear it, but I think that obviously drugs are a big problem, but there's so much that goes on behind closed doors that we don't know about, and that's why I'll, in terms of the media versus the player, I'll take the player's side every time, no matter what. Players make mistakes. Don't get me wrong, and there are players that unfortunately don't learn from their mistakes. But I think that with just in Reece Walsh's case, I think that this was a silly slip up, and I think that he'll learn from it. And I think that I just think that overall the NRL, while it does have some bad imagery surrounding it, I just think that you can't let that pollute out like the whole culture, because it just offers so much.
Yep. No, I agree. And just quickly, guys, I just wanted to, I want you guys to know as well, just because I, have my own personal views on drugs and alcohol doesn't mean, I think any differently. If you take it, that's your, that's your life. So again, sort of like my views on it are just probably from a my sort of point of view, but in saying that if you're into it, that is what it is. Obviously professional players, they can't be into it. Like it's not something they should do. It's not a hobby that you can afford to have. If you want to continue to feed, to provide family, food for the family stuff, it's not something that you should be doing. That's all like where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
So,
sorry.
No, you're okay. Did you want to say something quickly?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I'm like the same as you. I don't touch any of that sort of thing. I just think it's all detrimental. It doesn't offer anything for a player, especially a player with the potential that Reece has. I mean, he might get a couple of hours, one night of good fun, but in the end, he's just wasted a lot of money. He's put his career in danger, and I just think that there's nothing that comes out of, personally for me and probably for you as well, there's no benefits to abusing or touching any of that sort of thing. And I think that playing the sport you grow up loving as an occupation is is a privilege, and I think these players, unfortunately, they take it for granted a lot.
Yeah, no, and that's right. And you touched on that really. Sorry, guys, and I will get to the comments. You touched on that part. That's right. So a moment of fun for Reece Walsh has now landed him in this exposure in a negative way, counselling, the potential jeopardy of rookie of the year if the NRL do it. Like for him, like there's just so many ramifications, so many bad things that can happen doing this. And again, that's why I think it's really important for players to adhere, to listen, to take note that doing these things is just not recommendable. And it's not like it's talking what's have a drink with your mate, but a lot of the time, as we've seen, sometimes it just leads to things that are just not great. And in Reece Walsh's case, yeah, not too. All right, so say Revel, what would your suspension length be? Okay, I think I'll answer this and I'll let you go afterwards. Look, if you're putting everything into context, and obviously if you throw in that professionalism, which I think carries the largest amount of weight, it's not it's not the fact that he's 19, because as you said, whether you're 36 or 19, professionalism is professionalism. It discriminates no one. You literally need to be a professional. There's no right or wrong here. It is what it is. So if you put professionalism, which I think is is the forefront, I think you're looking at probably six weeks. I reckon 6 weeks. I think that's probably somewhere, the right, especially Reece Walsh. He looked really remorseful. He cried. I don't think he was acting then. I think it generally does mean it. I'm sure he's absolutely kicking himself. He's got his family, his kids, his daughter. I'm sure there's a lot of things running through his mind. So I think 6 weeks for me personally. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I was thinking about that. 6 weeks is probably the right sort of length. I was even thinking probably less, maybe like 4 or 5, but 6 is definitely perfectly acceptable. And I think the professionalism, it all comes back to that. And I think that bring the game into disrepute. I think the NRL can't really afford much more bad imagery, unfortunately, with everything that's going on. And so I think that 6 weeks is probably the right amount. Even if someone said 8 weeks, I wouldn't argue. I think that he should have known better at the end of the day. Obviously, he's just a kid. He'll bounce back, but I just think that he should have known better, unfortunately, and I think he definitely needs to pay a price for that.
Yep. All right. Just going through the comments here. Sorry, guys. All right. So Warriors and our fanatics. Hey man, how you going? He says, "Hey HTB, still lost for words about what's happened." Yep. And he says, saying his contract should be torn up is a bit over the top in my opinion. Walsh didn't kill anyone. I don't condone what he did, but the kid is only 19. I've seen worse things with other NRL players. That's true. And just quickly, he says, I reckon he will get a fine. Not sure about missing a chunk of games. We'll see what happens there. So Bromwich got 2 weeks now. You guys want 3 to 4 times longer suspensions? All right, I'll answer that one there. No, not really. But I guess with Bromwich, it was a different context, a different time. I think how long was that? Like about 3-4 years ago, I think. I think a lot has happened since with the NRL, particularly with the way society is moving, particularly with the way NRL is trying to invite, make it more kid-friendly, more mum-friendly. Again, that's why they've got that sort of stance there. That's the only reason why I think they would say 6 weeks. Look, different context. Back then, I'm sure it would have been fine just 2 weeks, but I just think a different time. That's a different day and age of rugby league. Even if you go back 4 years ago compared to what it is now, I just think it's different altogether in societal context. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that he raised a valid point about the increase in time of suspension, but I just think that with the era of social media and media in general nowadays, I just think that we just can't afford to bring the game into disrepute at all. And I think that what Bromwich did, obviously no one condones it, and he shouldn't have done it. And 2 weeks, in my opinion, probably wasn't enough back then. But yeah, like you said different times, and I agree. I think that just it just comes back down to the era in which the event occurred, and I think that in 2021, with especially with COVID, everyone's glued to their phones at home with nothing else to do, and everyone sees what goes on. And I think that unfortunately for Reece. And well, it's not just for Reece; it's a warning shot to the rest of the competition that if you engage in that sort of behaviour, then you're going to be punished for it.
Yep. No, bang on. So yeah, that's right. It's not trying to say that he should get less or even more. I just think the way society is now, especially with COVID, especially with you throwing those elements there, that's sort of like where I'm coming from there. But I mean, look, overall, again, not a good look for the Warriors. Cameron George did not, in my opinion, look too impressed with Reece Walsh and what he did. Sorry guys, what's happened there? Oh, my apologies. Sorry, did you watch sorry guys, I'll deal with this quickly. Did you watch the conference?
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
I watched part of it. It was a bit, I didn't really get the time to watch the whole thing, but I think I sort of got the message. I think that he was remorseful, like you said. I didn't think he meant to harm anyone. I just think he wanted to have a good time, and I think he's learned his lesson.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I'm just going to quickly deal with this just quickly. And just on that. Oh, I don't even know what's happened. Sorry, guys. Sorry, my apologies, guys. Yeah. So with that being said, sorry. With Reece Walsh as well. Yeah. Look, it's not a good look. I don't think anyway. Cameron George did not appear to be too happy. Sorry, guys, that you cannot see me at all. My apologies. Cameron George didn't appear to be too happy at all. Does this sort of add more to the dilemma of the Warriors heading into next season? Yes, it does. Is it something you need? No. Can Sean Johnson sort of, again, mitigate the solution there? Maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's right. There's a lot of hope heading into next year, and Reece Walsh doing that. Not great, but we'll see what sort of happens there. Again, sorry, this is awkward as I'm not sure what's happening to the screen, man. Sorry. Your thoughts on that Daily M, just quickly.
Oh, like who's going to win it?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, man, I think it's a 3-horse race. I think Cody Walker, Nathan Cleary, and Tom Trbojevic are all probably the main contenders there. And I think that probably Tom Trbojevic will get it, and deservedly so. I think he's been unreal, especially in the amount of played. He's achieved a lot. I think that, if Nathan Cleary won it, I wouldn't argue. And even if Cody Walker won it, I definitely wouldn't argue with that either. So it doesn't matter to me who wins it. I think all three are deserving parties. But what do you think?
Yeah, look, for me personally, I think I'll probably give it to DCE, to Nathan Cleary for me personally. I think what he's done this season proves that he should get it, personally. Who do you think wins Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year, I think, personally, this is my opinion, I think it should go to Reece Walsh, just because he came into the shoes of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, probably, if not the greatest fullback that the Warriors have ever had. Came in to fill big shoes, was definitely the most impressive player there. Sam Walker, don't get me wrong, he's been unreal this season, but if you look at the players surrounding the situations, I just think that Sam Walker had Angus Crichton, your James Tedesco's, your Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, superstars of the game in his team, and you look at Reece Walsh, and no disrespect to the Warriors team, but Adam Fanua-Blake's probably your only sort of legitimate superstar that Reece can sort of look up to. And don't get me wrong, the Warriors have tons of great underappreciated players, but if you're talking about superstars of the game, the Roosters have them in stock loads, and I just think that the situation that Reece Walsh was thrown into was a little bit more hostile compared to Sam Walker, and in my opinion, I just think that he's probably a little bit more deserving just because of this situation.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think you've sort of hit the nail there. And just quickly, guys, again, sorry for the little lighting error there. We're back on track. Yeah, look, I think Reece Walsh probably had every right to win it. Now, I'm not sure if he does, though. What you said was right. You brought up valid points, and obviously regarding any superstars in the Warriors team. Well, you could say Tohu Harris is another, but unfortunately he's been injured for a lot of the season. So yeah, that's right. I think your comment there adds weight. Look, I think Walker wins it for me personally. Even though Reece Walsh has done all those amazing things, and I agree, but I just don't think the NRL would allow him to win. But I've got a comment here from Phonetics. He says, imagine if he won it. There will be an outcry from everyone. Oh, that'll be awesome. That'll be like the ultimate troll job ever. So I would love it. So who do you think wins Captain of the Year?
Yeah, well, I don't think it can go to anyone else except for James Tedesco. Just what he's managed to achieve with 2/3 of his salary cap on the sidelines been unreal. You know, I wouldn't argue with Dale Finucane or Nathan Cleary and Isaiah Yeo. You know, they're all deserving parties for sure. But I just think that what James Tedesco has managed to do to lead his team into a semi-final without his host of stars, I think it was really impressive and a credit to him as both a player and a leader.
Yep. Well said. Who do you think wins Coach of the Year?
Oh, that's also a difficult one. And personally, I probably just have to go with Trent Robinson again. I'm not, a Roosters fan particularly, but you can't fault the quality of his coaching ability and just the way he's managed to bring his team of no offense because they're all great players, but nobody's at the start of the season to where they are now. And obviously they're fantastic players. Don't get me wrong, but they weren't well known, probably a bit young and a little bit raw in that sense. But just where he managed to get them all, and it's a credit to him as a coach. And I think it's probably just as big to his resume as going back to back.
Yeah. Yep. That's well said. So what we'll do, man, just quickly before we head off, is we'll probably do like the Dalian team of the year. Just quickly, give me your thoughts on that. But my captain of the year, I think it would have to go to James Tedesco, especially with everything that's happened to them, the team. And remember, we got to remember he wasn't the original captain. It was Boyd Cordner. So again, he got given that role, and I think he's done well with it. And I do expect, unfortunately, the Roosters to bounce back next year. I actually expect them to be very well in it next year, unfortunately. You got to remember, a lot of their cap space was out, injured, retired. So had that Cleary, who was at Collins as well. Some of their key players. Obviously, if the Morris, Brett Morris was still playing. You had Cordner. Again, didn't happen. But if they had those players, I think honestly they would have been in the top 4 easy. But next year they'll be in it. So as for the Coach of the Year, look, you can make an argument for Trent Robinson. I mean, I could say that, but at the same time, I sort of look at Bennett. I sort of look at what he's done with the Rabbitohs, just sort of silently just going through it all. And he's such a good personality. I enjoy. But I reckon either Robinson, Bellamy, or Wayne Bennett. So Robinson, those 3 there. Look, man, just before we sort of hit it off, and just quickly, guys, while you're here, I myself plan to make more content with Fanatics and our Fanatics, as well as the Dummy Half podcast. So expect to see more of him and his words of wisdom, which is cool as. But I'm letting you guys know that I will be doing an actual end of season review for every single NRL team. That's right, from the Bulldogs right to the Titans to the Storm to every team. Basically giving you guys my thoughts on them, their strengths, their weaknesses, and then a personal grading and going from there. So if you follow any of those teams, watch out. I'll be doing a review. And again, it'll be an honest review. Nothing else. In my opinion, we'll see what happens there. All right. So just stay tuned for that. An end of year review for every single NRL team. I'll be doing it. Get ready for it. And again, just quickly as well, shout out to there's a user there called Wow, and he actually provides me with some of my awesome cover photos that I do, templates for my YouTube posters, videos, whatever you call them. So thank you for that, and I appreciate what he does behind the scenes. Fanatics as well, and again, thank you guys. But look, Daily M's on, as we know. Give me your sort of thoughts from fullback to the year right down to we'll just do 1 to 13. So go for it, man.
Okay, so starting at fullback for Dalian fullback of the year. Tom Trbojevic, obviously. Sorry, I don't know why I even came close to a mind blank there, but Tom Trbojevic, obviously. Your Dalian Wingers of the Year. Now, obviously, it's moved to a full team format, starting from last year. So it's 1 to 13 instead of just one player position. So I think your wingers, it has to be Brian To'o on one wing, and for the other wing, I'm probably going to have to go with Ruben Garrick. Now,
good call.
Some might argue Johnston and that sort of thing, but I think Ruben Garrick's been unreal this year, and he's been safe under the high ball, and you can always count on him for 100 plus meters a game, and he's always safe finishing off tries, and I think he's one of the most unappreciated wingers in the comp. So that's those are my wingers of the year. Now moving into the center position, obviously Justin Olam for me personally, and it's a bit of a toss-up between Matt Burton and Joseph Manu. Probably just have to go with Manu, just clinching Matt Burton. I think that he showed his versatility when he moved from center to 5'8" back to fullback on the wing. I think he's proven how good of a player he really is, and going to 5'8" of the year, I think it can't be anyone else other than Cody Walker. Pretty self-explanatory. 45. I think he had like 55 line break assists all year and 35 try assists, which is ridiculous. Halfback of the year, Nathan Cleary. I think we can both agree on that one. Front rowers of the year, Payne Haas. Love watching him play. I just love different. I want to see him successful, and seeing him in a side like the Roosters or the Panthers would be just an unreal. My other front rower would have to probably be Adam Fanua-Blake. He's just been unreal for his side that struggled for consistency. He's been consistent all year. Hooker of the year, the Cheese, Brendan Smith. Pretty self-explanatory there. Just he's been unreal all year. Back rows of the year is probably the position that has the most sort of variance. I think. I think Isaiah Papali'ic's got to be up there.
Good call.
I can't believe the Warriors lost him as well. That's unfortunate for them.
We got him from Kane Evans. Good, yeah.
Yeah, nice trade. But yeah, just he's shown how undervalued he is, and I think that a lot of the attention's been on David Fifita for all the negative reasons, but I think I probably have to give him the other spot just for his sheer brilliance. The most tries by a forward since I think Steve Menzies. It's just sensational. Definitely deserves that spot, and people might argue, and I wouldn't argue against a guy like Angus Crichton in that other back row position. But for me personally, I think that if he didn't come with that $1.3 million price tag, I think people would be praising David Fifita. So I think that's him there. And for lock of the year, now I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I know people will say Victor Radley, people will say Cam Murray, but I have to go Isaiah Yeo. I think he's been unreal this year, and I think that the move to go from back row to lock was just a sensational move. And I think that unlike the guys, your Victor Radleys and your Cam Murrays, he's probably just as much of a threat running the ball as he is passing the ball. And I think that you sacrifice size when you're thinking of a guy like Cam Murray, Victor Radley. You're sacrificing a little bit of size for the ball playing and the ruck speed, the leg speed that they generate. But Isaiah Yeo has it all. I mean, he's got that quick leg speed that old school locks used to have, but he's also got that ball playing ability. And I think that just how consistent he's been all year for the Panthers, I think that he should get lock of the year.
Yeah, look, I agree, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was a smoky for captain of the year too. Just going to throw it out there. Look, I think that's a great team. I'm not going to do mine because I actually agree with them. The majority you said, probably bar one or two, but I think you've summed it up nicely there. In saying that,
sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, what was that? No, okay, you go for it.
What you make?
My changes? Oh, for me, I enjoy Garrick, don't get me wrong, and I think he deserves to go there, right? Like 200 points plus 20 tries. I think that was like that record, right? Never been done before, right? 200 conversion points, right? And 20 tries, I don't think. I probably would have went Johnston personally. I think Johnston is, for me personally, I think he's definitely good there. And you mentioned the second row there with Fifita, and I like that choice too. But I think for me personally, I probably can't go past Angus Crichton. I think he's had a superb year. But that's probably literally the only two changes. I agree with everything else you said, though. Regardless of people, either, sort of dropping the form or not, that I think makes sense. And I think Cody Walker is very unlucky to miss out on Origin 3. But I won't go there. I won't go there. Look, guys, I think I want to wrap this up. But again, Warrior Fanatics. So just quickly, Warriors and our Fanatics and myself, we actually do plan on doing a end of year Warriors awards where we're going to sort of dress up. Well, I am anyway going to dress up and sort of just give out awards to the Warrior players who we think deserve it. For example, we'll just have a serious category as well as funny. It's all in just a bit of fun there for you guys to be part of. So stay tuned for that. Another thing as well with Dummy Half Podcast, and I haven't spoke to him about it, but I'm sure he'd be open to it. If any of you YouTubers do want to collab with him, he's an easy dude to chat with, have a yarn with, easy as. So again, if you want to do it, he's good to collab with. Don't forget to follow him as well on Instagram as well as on YouTube. He's got, I think, 2 videos out now. And I'm sure he'll have more. But in saying that, it's great to have him on here. As you can see, he loves talking all things rugby league. He knows his stuff. And he's a Warriors fan as well. We'll forget the fact that he supports the Storm, I think. But I think he's one of ours. He's one of ours. So we'll adopt him. He's a Warriors fan. We'll take it from here, guys. But yeah, again, guys, thanks again for being part of this session. It's longer than usual, but that's okay. We don't mind it like that. Again, guys, take it easy. Be well. Stay tuned for more content. A lot of things happening in the off season as well. Warriors, NRL in general, as well as other things. But again, guys, thank you for having me and myself and Dummy Half Podcast as part of your entertainment. Just quickly, Dummy Half Podcast, any last words, man?
Yeah, just thanks for having me on the podcast, bro. I appreciate it, and thanks for all the fans that just watch and tune in. And I think that just sort of trying to grow our game, and I think this will really help. Just getting on and chatting. I think people enjoy the yarn, and yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. And I've noticed your bloke T-shirt as well, bloke in the bar. I absolutely enjoy watching this stuff. I think Kempy's a really funny dude, and I love how I think he has a secret soft spot for the Warriors. I appreciate that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
I think he does. Yeah, I think he does. He can be pretty upfront, but I think he does generally. Yeah, obviously he used to play for us. I used to watch him play and stuff like that. So it is pretty cool. Look, again, thank you for being on here. And guys, just remember, keep safe, be well, look after yourselves. Be well, be nice to each other, especially in COVID. Call someone, call a friend, be nice, reach out. But in saying that has been myself as well as Dummy Half Podcast. Take it easy, guys. We'll see you guys next time. And I think we can all agree that Dummy Half Podcast knows how to hold the ball. See you guys next time. Take it easy.